Beyond Bitcoin Hangouts are meant to give everyone a voice, a chance to speak with others who are passionate advocates for expanding the blockchain's use cases out into the world and beyond. Do you have a crypto community you would like to represent and hold open hangouts for? If so, you might find yourself on the path to owning a stake in Beyond Bitcoin. We are looking for people who care about people who want to bring others together, because crypto communities are people. Beyond Bitcoin is a movement of thinkers and doers in the crypto space. And if you feel you are one of them, reach out to beyondbitcoin@gmail.com for more information on how to debut your community's efforts to reach to the stars and beyond. Welcome everybody to the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. Today is Friday, April 7th, 2017. This is episode 202. It's been a while. We've been doing this for a little bit over 3 years now, and it's been a very interesting path that we've been traveling, archiving the various blockchain projects that are based on Bitcoin technology and things that are better than Bitcoin, actually, for a lot of people who want to get into the tech in terms of the tech side of things and the governance and some of the cool features that our technologies that we've covered offer. We really truly go beyond Bitcoin. And we like to leave these hangouts open for anybody to be able to join up. It's not a pay-for-play system here, everybody. So I want to just say thank you to all of those who support this not pay-for-play system, where we can kind of be as non-biased as possible, or at least have our biases obvious. I try to go by the idea, if you've ever heard people say that politicians should wear badges from their sponsors like a NASCAR outfit, I kind of feel the same about people who are media. So with that said, we have created a kind of gem of a little hangout here. And it's been going strong for quite some time. We started out with 2, 3, sometimes 4 people for an hour hangout, and have grown to reach we've had upwards of 100 plus people in here at time in the past. Now, we are using a cool technology that is another graphene blockchain called Steemit, where if you have a blockchain-based project, you can go and check the Beyond Bitcoin tag, and you can go and RSVP at those hangouts, or follow us on Twitter where we post those RSVP posts at beyond_Bitcoin. And you can go there, and what we do is we've had historically everybody upvote and get upvotes. And based on your upvotes and the community members who upvote you, we would determine an order of precedence. So the first and second person, third person will have the first most votes, the second most votes, the third most votes, and so on. So if you ever would like to be part of this, you can always join as an audience member live every Friday at 1 p.m. UTC, or if you would like to guest speak, you can RSVP there. And we've actually had a couple RSVPs this week. First is going to be PeerPlays, followed by Virtual Growth, followed by Embermine. Are you guys there, Crypto and Data?
Sure are.
But with that said, I'll go ahead and I'll step back and I'll let you provide some updates with the PeerPlays, the cool things that are going on in PeerPlays right now today, and then we can open up the community question and answer session.
Sounds good. Good day, everybody. My name is Jonathan Bahai. I am the president of PeerPlays Blockchain Standards Association, the nonprofit organization which is supporting the PeerPlays project. And as many of you know, last week we announced a contest where you could submit something cool, something creative on PeerPlays, and you could win $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. And today we have our winner. The winner of the $1,000 in Bitcoin for the PeerPlays crowdfund project is King's Crown.
Nice.
With his Rick and Morty cartoon, he managed to garner the most social presence with it. And I think the secret to that was because he was an early contender. As soon as we announced the contest, he was one of the first out of the gate and was constantly promoting it. So he got the $1,000 of Bitcoin. So congratulations to King's Crown. As many of you know who follow Steam, he is one of the major posters there. So I'm sure that he did his best to utilize that to help him to win. So that's very exciting. So that was our winner for the contest, and it was great. Everybody else made some fantastic submissions. I mean, every single day we were talking about them, and just it's amazing the creativity that everybody has here. We saw all kinds of videos that people made, lots of interesting graphics, some good write-ups, and yeah, it was really fantastic to see it all. It was just really good stuff. You guys are amazing. So that's the update on the contest. And today, we've been talking about this for a little while. Today's the big day for the big reveal of the PeerPlays core testnet. So with that, if you go to www.peerplays.com, you will see that there is a new button there to the right that says testnet. So if you go there, you'll be able to actually go into our online version of the PeerPlays core wallet. So this application is only specifically for the governance and management of your PeerPlays. So originally when we launched the blockchain, this is actually going to be a notable application. It is not going to be an online one. So what you see now is only for testing purposes. There is no data loaded into this testnet, so there isn't any kind of share drop information or anything like that. You have to register for a new account and just try it out, give it a spin. We have some materials that are going to be following later today to talk a little bit more about the testnet and about the major features. You'll also notice that if you go into there, you'll be able to play our rock, paper, scissors game. It's gotten a whole new facelift. It looks really cool and fancy now. And everybody will be able to create an account, get 100 test plays, and be able to play rock, paper, scissors against each other and see who can win in a tournament. So there's lots to see there, and to get an idea of what PeerPlays will be launching with on May 30th, which is coming up. And the crowdfund is still underway. That is going until May 14th. And those are the major dates coming up. Now, in between all that, we have a few other things that are happening, but I'll leave that to a later date. In the meantime, Michael is here with us today, and he'll be able to talk a little bit more about the testnet and be able to answer any questions anybody might have. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hey, everybody. My name is Michael Maloney. I'm the Director of Intelligence at PBSA. And I want to give you guys just sort of an overview of this new test network that we've launched today, and also a little bit of sneak view as to what we have upcoming. So the test network that we launched today, hold on, let me pull it up here. So the test network, as Jonathan mentioned, is primarily the core functionality of both governance and management of user tokens. So these are the sort of crux around which this application, the purposes that it serves for PeerPlays token holders. We do have rock, paper, scissors game included in it as well, which is really exciting to kind of see that in a souped up format. I will mention two things that this wallet does not have. The reason I'm going to mention these two things is because they are part of our announcements and literature that we put out what the PeerPlays blockchain will be capable and enabled to do. This wallet specifically does not have the referral program or a worker proposal program built into it. So I'll start with the referral program. Actually, I can sort of talk about both at the same time because it's very similar with both. The worker proposal and the referral program are both code that we are upgrading. Essentially, is the quickest way to say that. We have a number of applications that are going to be coming out over the course of this summer. And as those applications come into place, we will be offering up code to be forked in that will support a brand new upgraded referral program, as well as a brand new upgraded work proposal program. So as many of you know, we're building on a MIT licensed graphene toolkit, which contains a worker proposal software and a referral system software, but neither one of those we've determined are adequate for serving the needs of PeerPlays token holders. So we're really excited, to be giving both of those sort of unique engines of the blockchain an upgrade. So that said, I will give you a sort of announcement of a few dates upcoming. First of all, we have new materials coming out and a website which will be launched on the 21st of April. So we're looking at 2 weeks away. You will be able to find out some more information about all the applications we're building, and also a timeline. So we, as many of you who have been following us for a long time will remember, we are very adamant about realistic timelines. This is something that we strive for, and of course, as most people know, creating a realistic timeline requires that all of this are in a place where we can feel comfortable giving those timelines. So we will be releasing a comprehensive timeline that has dates all the way up until the spring of 2018. That is the place that we are at with the velocity of our coding resources and the teams that are working really hard and simultaneously on a number of different PeerPlays projects, code level applications at the moment right now. So all that information will be upcoming. I did want to mention one more thing as far as witnesses go. I know a lot of questions have been asked about witnesses preparing to become part of the PeerPlays blockchain. We are going to have all that information coming out approximately 1 week after the launch of the new PeerPlays website on the 21st of April. So that will be more than plenty of time to get people prepared and ready to do that. As I've mentioned before, the witness code at the launch of the blockchain will be very similar, if not almost identical to that of the current graphene-based toolkit. So if anyone's familiar with BitShares, that is a good example of another chain that uses the same witness protocol that we will be using at the launch of the PeerPlays blockchain. So should be a sort of natural segue for people to be able to understand how to become a witness node. And we're also going to have more information, and we still want to, we're still striving to schedule a channel and some opportunities, specific times when people can come and have an AMA question or AMA session rather, Ask Me Anything AMA session with some people who are familiar with how witness operations work. So that's my major updates. I'm going to switch over here and look at and start reading some of these questions. Unless Fuzzy or anyone else has any questions they want to ask, I'll be happy to answer them.
I have many, as always, but I'm going to leave it to anybody else because I can get answers to my questions a lot of the same.
One thing that comes to mind, I'm sure you can address this pretty easily, Crypto, is you're going to be putting out the information in more detail a week after launch. Well, how do you launch the network without knowing that?
I'm sorry if I miscommunicated that. 1 week after the launch of the new PeerPlays website on the 21st of April, approximately 3 weeks or more before the launch of the PeerPlays blockchain.
Okay, thanks. That makes more sense.
He's on it, isn't he? This is why I open it up, Tom. Because, I mean, I know there are things that people need to know in their own places.
I appreciate that. Sometimes I sort of just become a fountain of information, and I might not express it very clearly, so it's good to clarify these things.
Hey, man, we're only human.
Well, I'm at the testnet. I see PeerPlays DApp library, balance overviews, transfers, deposit and withdrawal, voting and management, the blockchain explorer, balance claims, general wallet, and you have more. Now, if somebody comes in here who's new, are we going to have like a way for them to easily be able to create their account or to import their account through here?
Yes, the importation of accounts is done through the settings module. If you go click up to settings and then click to the share drop claims tab, there's a place there to paste your private key for whatever account has been share dropped onto. I want to make brief mention of the process of how private key signing works. No private keys are being handed over or downloaded or uploaded to any third party. This application is installed on your computer. Whatever key you upload or import, is simply your wallet signing a transaction with that key. So the way that the cryptography on blockchain works is you have control of your keys. You use your key to prove that you're eligible to receive whatever tokens are in any particular account. So the process works: you put your key in the program of the wallet. Creates a transaction signing operation, and then that operation is broadcast to the PeerPlays network. So there's that element I wanted to clarify because people were confused, thinking they had to somehow give away their private keys or something like that. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, so the process essentially is going to be you create your PeerPlays account, then you import your wallet from a share drop or something into that if you want to have access to all that.
Yeah, that's correct. So you can create you create a PeerPlays account. That account will have 0 funds in it, but it will be a named account. You're a registered account. When you create an account and place a name next to that account, it registers a name. So this is basically a convenience. The account itself is still associated with the private public key pairing. And technically, I believe at the command line level, you can actually send funds to the public key of an account as well as the name of the account. But for usability and ease, registering a name of an account on the blockchain simply gives you the ability to manage all of your holdings and stake and voting and things like that under one sort of name. And so the password, I can explain a little bit the login procedure. When you create a new account, the wallet automatically generates a 52-character alphanumeric random password using randomization algorithms.
Yeah, he cut out all right.
Oh, sorry about that. Because this is a 52 character alphanumeric password, I don't personally know anyone who can memorize a 52-character alphanumeric password. So we have given an option to immediately download and also several checkboxes to assure that the user is aware of the reality that password is in fact control of all of their funds, and losing that password would result in the loss of anything that happened to be in the account associated with that password. That said, we also have a password change tab inside in the settings module inside of the wallet. That password tab allows you to change your password to a password that's a minimum of 22 characters. So the reason why we chose 22 is for sort of brute force estimate. We decided to give an option for technically speaking at a very high level, slightly less security, but we're talking about things that would take high volumes of supercomputer processors many years to crack into in a using brute force.
Concerted effort, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, 22 characters gives you. Oh, I'm getting my feedback here through your mic, Fuzzy. Thanks. So 22 characters basically allows you to come up with a short phrase if that works for you. Although it would be recommended to use a randomly chosen phrase of words. But we sort of leave that up to the user, and we'll have the wallet is also going to be complete with an extensive help section. We've written a lot of that already, and we're going to continue to refine it and include it. As you can see, there's a help tab in the wallet. And also we have some wonderful video tutorials that we're producing and will be released. In fact, the first one, sort of an introduction, we're going to have in pretty soon here. So we very much recognize that there's a learning curve when it comes to the crypto, and anything crypto. And our sort of philosophy is rather than to fight the learning curve, to rather do everything we can to embrace the learning curve. And so, the naturally, solutions to people having questions and not understanding things is to give them the resources where they can learn it very easily and quickly. Particularly in this case, have the resources be sitting right there in the wallet or on any of the PeerPlays information sites that have all of the all of the information about how to use everything. So yeah.
What comes to mind for me, excuse me, what comes to mind for me looking at it is it would just be really good to have maybe a tooltip for each one of the areas where it might get difficult for somebody who's new.
Like a little question mark, like a little question mark with a bubble or something like that. Yeah, we actually have that set up in the code. And there, if you go to the,
of course you do. Good job.
I'm echoing. Oh yeah. We have that set up. If you go to the committee member, or I'm sorry, the witness and committee member section, we actually have decided to change the naming convention of committee member to advisor. That's a naming convention that was just sort of settled on a few years ago, I believe, or when Graphene was first launched. We feel that advisor describes that position a little bit better, and so we're going to change that. But if you go into the voting module, voting menu item, you can see little question marks. I believe they're still in there. But yeah, that's something that we are, basically immediate, I think you called it tooltip, immediate information, a brief paragraph about what it is, and then also a link at the bottom that links them over to the help section. So
yeah, that's perfect. Because really, once you have this account and you have it switched to, like you said, a 22 character passphrase, it's something that most of us would probably be smarter actually in some ways to just keep the
keep the 52
password. And just keep it locked away and kind of
here's what's interesting about I'm going to answer Herp Derp's question here. Herp Derp 7 asks, it was said PP will be a downloadable when it launches. Is PP avoiding having it hosted on a website similar to Steemit? If so, what are the reasons? So the PeerPlays download client that's released will be a downloadable desktop application. The reason why it's not being hosted on a website is because we will not be hosting it on a website. And that is just for purposes of because of the nature of what PeerPlays platform represents and allows its users to do. We've determined that that's beyond the risk profile and also beyond the scope of what we are doing. So the accessibility of this particular application, because it's only for core PPY token holders, people who want to hold them specifically and participate in the governance of the network, it's not difficult to for those people to download and install the app as part of the their stake holder their desires as being stakeholders of the network. That said, we have a number of additional applications. All the applications are sort of wrapped up in neat packages. What I mean by that is that we don't have some sort of single overwhelming application with every single possible process and thing that can be done on PeerPlays, because the Graphene blockchain allows for API libraries to be created in a number of different languages. There's currently a JavaScript API library, and we've also built and are continuing to build a Unity library. API library. What that means is that additional applications can sort of pick and choose what data they applies to whatever the application is, what back-end feature of the blockchain needs to be enabled through these applications. And so it allows us to keep it really simple. And the point is, we are focused on creating consumer-level scalable applications, not things that are sort of just niche in the crypto space for echo chamber based echo chamber community usage. We really are working on setting up something that someone who doesn't have any knowledge of anything except how to use Bitcoin potentially, or even if they don't know how to use Bitcoin, or I just use Bitcoin as an example, someone who's entering the space and has the ability to at least get their hands on some crypto tokens and learn how it works. Our applications are going to be really simple and straightforward and intuitive, so they can simply send whatever currency they're using to that application, to their PeerPlays account, in fact, and then be able to utilize that. So your one PeerPlays account, your one login ID, your one password will be able to be used across multiple applications. All of the applications that are built on PeerPlays, you will be able to log in with your same user ID and password.
So once getting over that little hump, as far as the understanding of cryptocurrency, that's really all you.
There's a lot out there, and again, all of us are familiar that the ecosystem is growing. This never could have happened without everybody. I mean, there's really no doubt about that. The technology, some of the technologies we're using, in fact, and this is sort of an open secret, but the foundations of them have been around for a few years now. But as we've all seen, this is not just creating something doesn't, if you build it, they will come is not a mantra that necessarily works in the crypto space. There's timing. There's getting the message to the people who you want to come. It's providing a value proposition for people to want to leave the inertia of whatever it is using. So all these are big considerations in how we design and are designing these applications.
Well, I think that this is actually an easier process than I see with Steam. So that was kind of like the newest and biggest thing. Now BitShares has their login, which is pretty cool too. It's good to see that all of these technologies are starting to get to the point where user-friendly interfaces are starting to really emerge. And I think that you guys have a pretty one to test. I'm sure this isn't the finalized version. I think the tooltips is the only thing I can say. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we let Crypto Prometheus and Data wrap up? I will keep going, but I don't want to take all of this time because I know a lot of people are invested.
I'm actually, I'll go ahead and wrap up, Fuzzy. Unfortunately, I got to somewhere I have to be in about 5 minutes, but I want to just, of course, say thank you to everybody again. And if you want to get in touch with us, or if you want to find out more about the PeerPlays project, of course, PeerPlays.com and PeerPlays.com/news have all of the information. You can also visit our PeerPlays Telegram channel, which is just at PeerPlays, and also Steam. Our Steam handle is at PeerPlays. So just search for PeerPlays, and we're out there, and we've got a lot more great, exciting things on the very, very near horizon. So, that said, thank you very much again, and thanks, Fuzzy. And you guys have a good weekend. We'll talk soon.
Oh, thank you, guys. Real quick, before you go, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, Virtual Growth, are you there?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to step back and I'm going to say, feel free to give everybody a quick rundown of what you do, some of the projects that you're on, and what you're going to be talking about specifically today.
All sorts of stuff. Thank you to everybody who's invited me, supported me, catered with me through this show, behind the scenes, and everything else. I cover numerous topics today. Started with Steam Prentice, which is the long-standing one. I started with Psycho Chica. Our group has 300 people, and we have a new Discord group, which is slowly growing, which isn't really active lately. We used to recruit new people, and thinking of looking for somebody to actively recruit new people who are joining Steam. There's a bot that's in SteamSpeak that catches first posts. Maybe if somebody is interested in collaborating with those people and directing them to the Apprentice channels, we can start helping people again, to new users. That helps user retention. So at one point we also rewarded users, so maybe we could reward users that find people and new users, give them some Steam to help them get started a little more and they understand all these things, because there's a lot of barriers of learning to the world, the entry of all these things and Steam it, and you go and post, and a lot of people don't make money. And there are numerous reasons for this, whether it be marketing, getting followers, getting votes. You have to get exposure. When you're one person, you just make a post and nobody notices you. You're like whispering into this wide world of whatever. And if you have followings in other places, that helps you. And if you have followings and your different skill sets that you use. And as far as Steam it, as far as their formats and formatting posts, so they make sense, and so on and so forth with tags and the HTML that works and doesn't work, and understanding all of that. That's one point. Steam Apprentice, the dividend is delayed. I've been busy this week, but the value of the Steam Apprentice shares in the Steam Apprentice account has grown 25%. Is it all right? I know I'll continue with sound all right again. Also with LiveNet, which was not a success, I'm going to offer to buy it back from resources that I have so that people get something and possibly develop an insurance of something like that. The idea of Steam lands, I'm thinking of turning it into a crypto land and adding all different crypto and information about them that people can visit and make some type of gaming facility that's popular in the YR grid space that uses Bitcoin as the base currency. And then as far as BitShare user EIA, issued assets, Crypto Matrix entered in the idea of a possible hangout regarding those. So the administrators of the tokens like myself, Task Manager, Instructor 2121, Steam Trail, Mr. Wang with his Wang chains should get together and collaborate ideas on how to increase the usage and interaction of these tokens between users and all the different projects themselves so that people understand better. And then also I have the Virgrow token, which will be buying and selling these different tokens. I'll be making a markets for Steam Factory, as I did when Steam Trail and Task Manager was starting out. And his project, he thanked me personally. I've consulted with him behind the scenes as I do with Mr. Wang. And I will talk to him more about this BitShares project as well. And thank you to BitShares who invited me to a possible committee. I look forward to that, as I've dealt with different things of similar aspects in the past, so I think we can all use our talents and skills together. And also with Steam and BitShares, the crypto itself is people orientated, but all we have are the major basic applications. I think the key is being able to use these tokens on applications outside of their main applications so that people can utilize them, blockchains without knowing they're using the blockchains, because it's complicated, like blogging, and people are not familiar with that. And then BitShares, it's a DEX and it's an exchange, and a lot of people aren't familiar with an exchange. And if people could use these tokens in a different way, and then other people could be trading them, but people could use the tokens for value. One of the things I also wanted to mention, one of the links I shared is Open Bazaar on the Steemit user Collectibles. He sells collectibles, which I've done most of my life. He does it through Bazaar at this point. And he was saying that if we could possibly get Steam and Steam-backed dollars to be accepted by Bazaar, that would be big in helping increase in usability and demand for Steam-backers. And with BitShares and BitUSD, what I'd like to suggest is coinpayments.net. Everybody can go and vote, or we can reserve a certain amount of money to get it programmed and added into the interface so that they are used in e-commerce. Clyde did this. I shared a link in the chat. If people are interested, it costs about $500. It might be a little more depending on what's needed. I think that's a step to getting it used. People definitely appreciate a US dollar asset where they have just Tether. A lot of people are using Bitcoin, but a lot of people are unsure about Bitcoin because of the fluctuation if they have something more stable. So that's just another idea I wanted to mention. I'll pause for a moment if people have questions, feedback, or anything else.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about LiveNet. You say it wasn't a success. Can you say what it was?
I don't know, because Steam Power Twins have disappeared and they haven't gotten back to us, essentially. I think they went in over their heads and hadn't been able to do anything with it.
So without any accounting of how they used my money, it sounds more like a theft to me than not a success.
Agreed, unfortunately.
The free market. Unfortunately, not as healthy sometimes as the green giants' green beans can.
Good to call a spade for a spade.
The Steam Power Twins, their original idea was a talk show, and that they probably would have done better with, but then they had this big idea. It was way beyond their comprehension. unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where that network idea came from. That was like, whoa, you're really gonna try that?
It's a huge idea for $20,000.
Especially when you've never even worked on a network or even know how it works.
And to answer G-Quest's question is how much they did raise, it was less than $1,000. They raised a few $100s in Bitcoin, Steam, and Steam-backed dollar, which they issued LiveNet to people and haven't been around since. And they've withdrawn practically all of their money from Steam, as they've noticed by people in TeamSpeak. And there's a few times that they've been logged in and hadn't listened to any of us, including myself. So it appears of the avoidance. So it's time to move on.
Tendencies.
West Coast.
Time to move on. Well stated, PG. Well stated. It's time to move on. It's people don't realize how much it takes. I never realized just for this little humble thing that we've got how much effort it would take. You know, when you first start off, like Mr. Wang saying, like if you even have an idea about it, it's a big deal. It takes a lot of money to do these things, what these big networks do.
I don't mind that, but once they realize that it takes more than what they were willing to put into it, they should have returned my money.
Oh, that would be what somebody who's giving up.
It was a theft, no doubt about it. I mean, like you're saying, once upon a time, if they were being up and up, they could have returned the money. They could have said, "Hey, we bit off more than we can chew. We don't want to be, we want to do the right by people. So here's your money back." But they didn't do that. They left and they didn't talk to anybody that was involved with them since. That's a pretty clear indication it was a theft, in my view.
Can I just say that we should have believed in the Sir Lunch TV network? What? Love you guys.
Hey man, as long as you're a force for good on that network, that's all I care about.
I don't know. One of them had a post that was worth $30,000, and it was like, well, we could have applied it to that, couldn't you?
That was the problem. They got way too easy money from one YouTube video about makeup. So they thought it's going to be really easy to raise money and to pull things off. It was way too easy for them.
Oh, that happened before.
Well,
Can I just add that males can't do makeup tutorials? Because we don't make that much money off of those.
I'd prefer that it stays that way personally, but if everybody wants their thing,
Also, these type of things, when I was in Second Life, when we had a virtual stock market, which we did about a half a dozen times. There was a lot of us that had this problem with scams and good companies and everything else, and that did the idea of a committee. We had a committee that would vet these people, kind of like we could vet user-issued asset tokens. We could vet the people for how good their projects are, how to make it better, and help them with proper resources and such to help ensure the success and the safety of the administrators of the UIAs and the token holders and buyers themselves. And I think that's an important issue to us as well. But otherwise, I'm just going to continue what I'm doing, and I think everybody else is. I look forward to working with the BitShares community some more as well, since I'm working with UIAs, and I've been consulting with Mr. Wang on his Wang change, and Pair Mike with his Steam Factory asset. I shared a link to that. It's Steam Factory on steemit.com. The idea is a token that he's donating his miners for, and whatever tokens are mined, whatever cryptocurrency is mined by the miners will go towards those tokens, and those tokens will be used to reward users for interacting and following the Steam Factory account and voting on the posts. And also part of it was donated to Steam Prentice, and those will be sent out to a few of our users who are also using BitShares or using graphene resources as we all learn about how to utilize things to value ourselves. So anybody else have questions, comments, feedback, or anything else? I was thinking of a BitShares UIA Hangout that was mentioned by Crypto Matrix, and Mr. Wong expressed interest as well as TAC Manager, so maybe we could explore that idea in the near future as well. We'll figure out a time and space, and I'll talk to them behind the scenes at one point or another.
Well, Virtual Growth, I'll talk to you about that too at some point in time, because we're about to be launching ShareBits, and we're going to have forums where, and we're going to make it so it's possible for all forums to plug into it, and you'll be able to tip people in any UIA or bit asset on the BitShares exchange.
Yeah, that'll be great. There's a few people have asked me about tools in regard to that, and I've told them that way it's something will be developed. And there's also the technology of margins, trading, and dividends that will be in BitShares in the future that I've read about as well. So I and many others who look forward to those added features.
Well, just so you know, VG, the ShareBits market is going to be very real, so just keep an eye on it.
Of course. I noticed whale shares right when they were after they were created.
Oh no, there's ShareBits as well.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's the service for that I'm talking about, with you guys being able to the tools, right? Once you have the tools, you're going to be a dangerous man.
Exactly. That's what I'm waiting for, along with a few others. Many of us have many ideas to implement that will be useful and that will help BitShares and Steam grow in different ways, where we can better utilize them beyond the basic applications that exist.
Yeah, you form that team, we'll empower it. I've got a few people that I've been talking to about it too. Sir Lunch is here. I've talked to him about it as well. But there's a bunch of people who are actually from all of you guys here are going to be invited. But I just want to let you know, because this is something that I think is especially going to be interesting for you as a tool.
Agreed. Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Well, does anybody have any questions or comments for VG?
Yeah, this is Per Mike. Appreciate that, VG. I'm the guy that created the Steam Factory, so appreciate that plug. Just a quick bit on it is, the partnership with he and I has worked out real well. And so just want to thank him for that publicly. That's it.
I'd like to thank Virtual Growth for a bunch of things publicly. I suspect that VG is either trying to talk or he's unable to at the moment. But I will say, VG, if you can hear us at this moment, that I agree 100%. You do a lot of these things for different people and different projects, and you find good projects with people who care about them. So this is another one that I'm looking forward to seeing it as it evolves and grows. And thank you, Per Mike.
Yes, sir. Thank you for us, the rest of the guys.
Yeah, I'm a people person. From growing up in the Boy Scouts all the way to an Eagle Scout, it's something I've always enjoyed. And I look forward to Per Mike's project. It's the one I like the most so far. And it values the collection of cryptocurrencies, which is part of the virtual growth philosophy, is investing and collecting different cryptocurrencies and a way to share them with people. And it's about giving. Word give is one of the oldest words in the linguist language. It's unchanged for thousands of years, one of the first dozen reasons. So I'm about done. We can wrap it up. And thanks for Per Mike, and I look forward to that. The others. Steam on.
Well, Virgrow, you almost forgot. How do people get in contact if they need a people person?
Virtual Growth on steamit.chat, and Virtual Growth can be found on Discord as well as Gmail.
So virtualgrowth@gmail.com as well.
That is correct.
Well, thanks a lot, man. Keep on keeping on, and I'm glad to see that you are one of those people that, you're one of those trees that doesn't fall in the storms. That's why I really appreciate what you do. And a lot of people don't always see all the things that are going on beneath the surface, but you kind of prowl beneath the surface looking for them. So thank you for what you... Oh, and I would just say this. I've been getting into arbitrage because of you. So with that said, next is going to be Embermine. Embermine, are you... It's actually Embermine Drake here in Mumble. Drake, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, man,
you hear me?
You have your mic set up perfectly and everything.
Oh, well, that's luck.
Fair enough. Well, luck is on your side today. What I would like to do, and what we normally start off with, we try to do this occasionally even with the older projects, but with the projects that are just now becoming guest speakers on Beyond Bitcoin, the first time I would like to, if you could give kind of like a 5-minute overview or short introduction of maybe how you got into cryptocurrencies, the blockchain technology, and then where you're wanting to take it. And then we can kind of go into the community question and answer segment, and we can go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds fine to me. I I have no problem talking about what we're doing and not only answering questions, but the story of how we got into this, how we even got to this point right now where we're speaking to a group of people I never thought I would ever be talking to, is actually quite amazing, and really is kind of the a microcosm of the journey that that cryptocurrencies, blockchain in general, are reaching into various new public spheres. No longer just having to be somebody really into game theory or photography or privacy or any of these little niches. Story of Embermine and story of really where we want to take cryptocurrencies. That's what I'd like to talk about real quick here. Is first of all, my name is James Drake of Embermine Incorporated. We're a business that's looking to develop and create a smart contract platform that puts smart contracts literally in the hands of every person in the world. The ability to be able to manage and create smart contracts individually, real language sort of way, send them and receive them from other individuals, manage projects or manage any sort of agreement that has to happen between. That's the bigger dream of what Embermine wants to be. Where this dream started was from...
real quick, I hate to interrupt,
Sure.
But I'm unfortunately going to have to.
Okay.
Would you be able to see if there's anything else open in the background?
Yeah, we just had something jump up on here. Of course. Sorry about that. Right when I was in the middle, I had something load in the background. I'm like, oh, is that better?
Not really.
Okay. That's the biggest problem with my location is I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Is that helpful at all?
You sound good to me.
All right, cool. All right, I think it was just I had that pop-up come up and that was cutting me out. Are we hearing everybody okay now? All right, so, really where the start of all this is at, started with me working as a small publisher. I've been interested in the book industry and writing for some time, and I always found it very frustrating marketplace. It was not just a matter of getting in and cutting out.
No, you were fine for me.
You sound good to me.
Okay, I have a couple of different opinions here. Some people say I'm cutting out. All right, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and proceed and see if this works out. I do have a little pause I do every now and again, so I hope that doesn't throw too. So anyway, was in the publishing industry for a couple of years. Just was getting really frustrated with a lot of the issues and the difficulties that occur within creative space, like level. Wanted to get involved with, artist or an editor or a publicist. You always had to pay a lot of money up front for those services. First-time writer or first-time artist or contributor in some fashion, just the upfront cost to barrier of entry to get into these areas. Even though, self-publishing is really lower that barrier, there's also an issue right now, though, just how pay for your art up front. You have services. And when you don't have those opportunities, you don't pay up front, sometimes you can get taken advantage of, or for that matter, if you're an artist and you want authors, difficult to trust individuals and know who you can work with. And that's some of the difficulties that we see, pressures that exist within the industry and the friction. And, I only had a handful of authors, a handful of books. It would take me 3 days to figure out royalties. It was annoying, it was difficult, and then there was always the possibility that I was incorrect. Missed a sales report from someplace and didn't get it in time or what have you. Created a lot of difficulties. Making sure that not only were individuals getting paid properly, paid on time, that there was confidence that the system was working. There was at one point we're having our own difficulties where I just kind of looked at it and I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do this. So what I ended up doing is I started, exploring different ways of creating automated payment systems. Looking at Amazon, looking at the possibility that they could have just had it where I could choose individuals, split the royalties with, and have it right into their environment.
You do seem to be breaking up somewhat now, and I'm not sure if it's your network connection or whether or not you might be using a voice-activated switch on your mumble voice. But
Okay.
because you're clear as a bell when you are speaking, but then you drop out from time to time, might be because of the pauses. But if you use push to talk, if you're not already, that would help that situation if that's the cause of these interruptions.
I'm gonna go into options real quick here and just and see if I can change a push to talk. Can everybody hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. That was probably it. All right. Sorry. All right. So anyway, I was working in the publishing industry and just realized that there was so much friction on all different sides of anything that had to work with the, essentially the.
Now you're cutting out again for me.
Okay. Hold on
real quick. I just don't want you to. Here's the thing. You got a great thing that you're a project that you're going to be talking about. I don't want to murder it when we're capturing this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's worth me taking a few seconds to make sure that this is done right.
Okay.
So go into the settings. Do you have the push to talk set?
I thought I did, but to be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever used this product, so okay. I don't know if I did it right.
Go to.
Well, here's one way to tell. If when you push the key for whatever mouse button or key, whatever is you set up, then you can look at
set up.
Okay, you can look at the lips on the side, and that tells you when you're actively speaking.
Yeah, how it's automatically the default setting for mumble is to capture to notice your voice when you talk. So what's happening is when he takes a breath or anything that's not very loud, the mic is cutting off. So it gives us the impression that it's cutting out, but it's not actually cutting out because of internet delays or anything like that. It's because the mic is cutting off. So you open up configure, you go to settings, and then you're going to go to audio input.
Okay.
You'll see interface, transmission, and under transmission, you'll see transmit. Over to the if you follow and look over to the right, it'll say.
Yep.
It probably says voice activity or continuous.
Yep.
Probably voice activity. Go ahead and click on that drop-down menu. Pull up push to talk.
Okay.
Then you're going to go down to advanced. Click on advanced.
Yep.
The little checkbox. Then go to the shortcuts section. Back, it's audio. It's 4 under audio input. So there's audio input, audio output, user interface, shortcut. It's one of the ones that pops up whenever you check that advanced box. And then you'll see over in the right-hand side of the mumble configuration window, shortcuts. Do you see the shortcuts window?
Yep.
Now, underneath function, you're going to have a little box that you can click. And it'll
Choose push to talk.
Assign. Yeah, say push to talk. Then go over to the shortcut tab or column, and you're going to click on that. And then you're going to just choose a button. I choose control, the left hand or the right hand. Right hand's probably better.
Got it.
God,
okay.
Don't do that.
No, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right.
It's okay, I got man. It's like I just don't want you to waste your time, really, right? Okay, so with that said, I'm going to edit out everything between those two coughs. Go ahead and start with the intro again, and then we'll have this done perfect.
Wow.
You're going to have to hold the button down when you're talking.
Okay. So everybody can hear me okay now?
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's do this. Sorry about this. A little bit.
No, man.
New time, new program. Always figuring these things out. So, all right. So just real quick, my name is James Drake. I'm the CEO of Embermine Incorporated. Our goal is to create a smart contract platform that allows everyday users to be able to easily create smart contracts right in the palm of their hand. Be able to ship them and share them with other individuals and even negotiate them very easily. Not just in a smartphone, obviously, but obviously on any sort of platform, whether it be a computer or iPad, phone, what have you. The idea is to be able to create an opportunity so individuals will be able to create an opportunity for individuals to manage their own affairs, various projects that they're working on, and create smart contracts that guide various business decisions and obligations that they have in their life. Enable individuals to be able to really take a sense of ownership and agency especially in the creative endeavors or their various projects that they want to have for themselves. So whether it be writing a book or creating an app or having small teams be able to do various projects. We even have a use case where an individual can be their own general contractor on the building of their home. So there's lots of different things with that, but the story is about bringing smart contracts to the mainstream, bringing this technology to everyday people, and that's been the kind of the story of my life and what I've been trying to do over the last few years. Is bringing technology and bringing it within accessibility to the everyday person. We're talking about the plumber down the street who uses his cell phone to text and call and search the internet and do things like that, but has no idea what blockchain is, has no idea what Bitcoin or BitShares or even smart contracts are, but could infinitely improve his life by having access to this technology. So the journey of all this really began for myself as a publisher. And when I was a publisher a few years ago, I was really struck by the sheer amount of friction that existed just to get into the marketplace. As a writer, it was frustrating. I mean, it wasn't just the fact that you had gatekeepers and whatnot that were, deciding what books could be, sold and which could not be sold. But you also had a lot of, if you're going into it from a self-publishing standpoint, it was very expensive. Having to pay for your own editors, having to pay for your own publicity, having to pay for art, all of that was just a huge upfront cost that you had to bear the brunt of that usually, was generated almost wholly, by yourself. You had no other options except for to pay out of your own pocket for these services. And that's what actually makes, the idea of being with a publisher attractive. But as a publisher, when I became a publisher, I found that it didn't get any easier, especially when you're an indie or a small independent publisher. It was very high friction to get involved. Not only did you have to take care of all the authors and all of their contracts and all of their needs, but you had all the other things on the other side as well. Dealing with everything from art and editing and layout and all the very distribution-oriented projects that had to occur in order to make any book successful. And there was one point when I was doing royalties for my authors where it would just take me like 3 days to do it. And there was just one point where I said, there's got to be an easier way. Especially with like Amazon and stuff like that. Why isn't it possible to go into Amazon and just select an individual that you can divert a certain percentage of the royalties to just automatically and have it automatically happen? And it didn't exist. It wasn't out there. So we started coming up with this idea. And when I say we, my nephew Garrison Breckenridge, he's actually online here now. He's in here as Harlequin. Unfortunately, he has had even worse problems than I had trying to get his microphone to work. But he is the co-founder of Embermine as well with us. We were discussing, there's got to be a way to do this. And so we actually were looking into current environments that were available, current programming capabilities and whatnot. And we always kept on running into a number of issues. One of those issues that we were running into was just the idea of trust. How do you trust the people that you work with? How do you know that one individual or another is going to be, somebody that's going to be respectable to work with, somebody that you can trust to do a good job? More importantly, do they get your vision? Do they work well with you and the others that are going to be with the project? And sometimes it's really hard to know how all those things come together. So I was trying to figure out, using existing environments, how we could build, a trust layer that could be involved in it that would make it easy. and there just wasn't anything out there. There were also issues with money, and there were also issues with, creating automated payments, and then also, connecting all the various existing marketplaces that were out there and being able to bring them into the fold. And it just looked like it was just going to be really, really difficult, if not nearly impossible to do. And without just essentially creating a whole new system. And we had a moment where, Garrison had been investigating, him being much younger than myself, was investigating all the new things, all the new technologies out there, and very fascinated by it all. One day kind of looked over at me and said, "Have you heard of Ethereum?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have no idea who they are." Because I didn't know blockchain. This is a year ago, a little over a year ago, and I had no idea, none whatsoever, what it was. So I started looking into it, and at first I kind of go, "Well, looks interesting, but it just seems really complicated and not quite ready for prime time yet." And I decided, well, I'd look into it at some point. And what Garrison likes to describe is, for the next 2 months, he didn't hear from me, see me, talk to me, or nothing. It was like I just disappeared off the face of the earth.
You were researching.
Yes, I was researching. Not only was I researching, but I was deep diving into the technology, and as all of everybody on here knows, I mean, that's quite the rabbit hole. You start getting into the Bitcoin and the blockchain rabbit hole. Next thing you know, and of course that was also when a lot of big news was coming up with the DAO hack or the DAO hack, and the various issues that were going on in the early stages of Ethereum's development. And yeah, I've never seen a rabbit either. I'm still looking for that damn rabbit, but that happens. But eventually we got to the point where I realized this is it. This is how it's going to be done. That smart contracts and blockchain and all the open ledger, everything, just having a transparent environment that's also secure and can protect privacy, as well as all the advantages that you can get out of content creation control and digital rights distribution management. There were so many different technologies that are all coming together at the same time. IPFS and smart contracts. It was just like this big light bulb went off, and I realized this is how it's going to happen. This is how it's going to move forward. So we started working and creating the Embermine platform. And what we did is I engaged with everyone who could talk to me and would talk to me in the industry. People with companies like Monex and Consensus and individuals that I've been speaking with on LinkedIn and going on various boards and various places and just kind of lurking and seeing what people are talking about, and finding the credible and ingenious people who are creating this next wave of technology, and doing everything I can to learn what there is to know about blockchain. So we developed the Embermine platform on that, and the idea is that it's going to be a proof of stake, delegated proof of stake blockchain environment that will be using smart contracts to enable users to create projects and connect other collaborators to those projects to ensure not only that the project gets done, but through the whole lifeline or lifetime and life cycle of that particular product, ensure 100% revenue share and royalty share to all users and collaborators that have smart contracts to that project. And that's just the the tip of the iceberg there. But go ahead.
I'm going to agree 100% that that's the tip of the iceberg, because it applies everywhere, really, where with the model that I read in your white paper. Pretty much anything that involves creation, which is, God, I don't know of anything that doesn't involve creation in some way, shape, or form. It's a big thing, right? So how do you refine that, and what are some of the basic use cases that might be something that somebody can grasp onto who's new? Because like you said, it's a lot of us don't realize that we've been like digging in the rabbit hole. Like we just like keep going down further. We don't really go up ever, right? So somebody who's looking down in the rabbit hole, maybe if we can give them a light or something to look at, they can see where we are, you know? Just something, some of those basic use cases that you see might be beyond, like, I know we've talked about one, which is kind of a little bit, which is the publishing industry. If I have a project and I want to use this, how would I do? You run down one of the use cases?
Well, how about this? Why don't I just take a random use case? Anybody throw any random use case out there that would be a project-oriented use case, and I'll just run through exactly how Embermine would work with that.
I hate to this one, but since we are basically all here in the Beyond Bitcoin community, let's go with Beyond Bitcoin. How we have, this is our 202nd Hangout. We've been running these Hangouts open source, essentially, you know, Creative Commons fair use, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, from what I know about how this particular Hangout is set up, and what the goals and the objectives are for you guys, I'm going to take some creative license and just apply those here, but you'll get the point. So, for example, you wanted to have use the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout as a model. What you would do is first there would be a user, let's just say it was you, Fuzz, who is in the Embermine environment. You would have your own user identity. This user identity is unique to you and only you. And once you create it, you can't create another one. This is you. But there's also an array of entities that you can create. These are the public-facing identities that you put out there. One of the big things we feel is important for bringing Embermine from or bringing blockchain technology from where it's at now, mainstream, is demystifying it. And one of those demystifications is the idea that there's a whole group of individuals out there that think everything should be anonymous and everything should have, no links to anybody or anything like that at any time. Well, some of that's true, but there's also some real world applications where it's important that we have at least some ability to create a unique identity and know that a person is unique. And so in this case, we call privacy is not about hiding. It's about being able to reveal yourself on your own terms. And by creating these entities, they're generated from a very distinct legal identity. You can make any forward-facing, like Fuzz, for example. You create an identity. It's called Fuzz, and people would know you as that person. And what you reveal of yourself, of your private matters, is completely dependent upon how much you trust a particular area or individuals that you're working with. And you can just decide to create this persona. And so this persona is, in this case, you would create a creator entity. This creator entity would be called Fuzz, and you would create a project. And the project would be called Beyond Bitcoin. That's another entity. A project is another type of entity. And then you would open it to collaborators. And say, for example, you wanted to have an audio technician, and you wanted to have somebody who does all of the branding and graphic design work for it. And let's say you also had a couple people who are going to be publicists, who are going to go out there and kind of boost the signal. And let's say you want to give a certain percentage of all the money that's received for this to those individuals and have it be done in an automated fashion. So you create these collaborations and you put out almost like you can in LinkedIn, like a job, an opportunity out there for collaborators, and various collaborators would then apply for that particular smart contract. And the beauty of it is that smart contract will allow the individual to negotiate their rate at what they would receive. So the first person. Go ahead. So the first person would, the creator would say, we estimate that we would give 5 to 10% of the income to a graphic designer, for example. And the graphic designers that want to participate in that project would kind of, kind of thumbs up and wave that they're going to be doing this. And you can look at those individuals and you can choose to decide, well, I have this person here that I want, let's just say it's me, it's James Drake. And you could say, well, James, I'd like to offer you a 5% fee. This is what the objectives and responsibilities would be, and offer you 5% of all the the net revenues for this project. And I could look at it, and I would get it on my phone or get it on my computer or get in my notifications tab, and I would look at it, and I'd be able to open up that smart contract, and using just a bunch of dialog boxes that have variables in it, be able to adjust that smart contract up or down based on what I would want to counter propose, or if everything looks good to me, I can just digitally sign it and move on. And once I digitally sign it, it comes back to you, Fuzz, and you'd be able to look at it, and you had one last chance to be able to look at it. And I would be able to say, or you'd be able to say, yeah, that's great. Final approval, definitely yes. And then that smart contract is now compiled and put into the blockchain. And it becomes part of what's called a project compact. And project compact are all the smart contracts for any particular project that are compiled together to create one master contract. The interesting thing about it is that all those smart contracts now are encrypted to that, and then that whole project compact is then therefore installed to the blockchain. And what that does, it provides an extra layer of security on the project. Nothing can be changed inside the project without complete vote, majority vote by all of the stakeholders that are within that project. So, for example, in this case, now Fuzz has
kinds of projects, right?
Yes. And so, for example, in this project compact for the Beyond Big project, he now has 95%, and 5% of the vote is now on to this graphic designer. Now, you could have many, many contributors to this. And let's say you could have it where it's essentially a full consortium, where there's a few people that have a higher percentage and then a bunch of individuals that have a lower percentage. And they're all sharing in the revenue automatically through this project compact. And so then when the revenues are collected now, in this particular case, you're handling this through SoundCloud. What you would use is the Embermine is developing a payment capture technology, which allows you to use any marketplace, and any revenues that are coming from that marketplace, or regardless of what the revenues are, they could be any crypto in the world, it could be any fiat in the world. It could capture those revenues and enforce them, enforce those revenues through the project compact, ensuring that the revenue share is captured from any marketplace. And so you would just attach that to your SoundCloud, and it would allow any revenues that came from SoundCloud, for example, if that was a place you were getting revenues from, or Steam or any place like that. And you would capture those revenues and automatically, at the time that those revenues are collected, distribute all of the funds appropriately according to the smart contracts. The nice thing about this is that I'm never holding your money. Fuzz is never holding your money.
Yeah.
It's at the moment of transaction it happens, the funds are distributed.
The smart contract based off of the blockchain data is really all that matters.
Yep.
It's I like how you've really made this into kind of like any community can kind of this. And there's a structure for each community, right? And they can kind of almost form their own structures in their own ways as well, right? But you have like a template for how they should be formed, right?
Right. So as we build the environment, what we'll be doing is we'll be building into the smart contracts platform, essentially templates. Because we can control the whole, the way the contracts are written, and we control the language at which the contracts are defined in. The contract assemblers that we would use could be done in a very easy, essentially Dropbox interface, where there's certain parameters that would be expected, and then you'd be able to put this in and literally change the terms to fit your particular use case or your particular relationship with that individual or their needs that they're going to be having. So that would allow literally almost unlimited amounts of flexibility within the parameters of what that particular project are going to be. So, for example, in the publishing use case, if you go in there, you could have a template area where you would choose publishing or what have you, and you could choose artist, and it's going to list the basic parameters that are always going to exist when you're creating contracts with artists, or creating contracts with musicians, or creating contracts with editors. So it's going to define those particular parameters in terms of both objectives as well as payment structures that would be available for that. But for the most part, 99% of all contracts that exist within any particular use case are very narrowly defined down to just a handful of variables. Everything else is boilerplate 99% of the time. And if it's not, and it needs to be customized even deeper, we do provide a customizable smart contract interface where you can create very specific and detailed parameters for any particular use case.
Well, I don't want to cut this too short. There is one question that I have, but I would like to open it up for the community to ask you some questions, because we try to go about 15 to 20 minutes. And since we've had some technical issues that I'm going to have to cut out and stuff, it doesn't have to be exact, but I like to keep it in that area. But I would love if you would come back maybe for a couple segments where we can dive deeper as asking some questions about.
Well, just real quick,
exploring some things. But go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick. I mean, there, and we can get into this, now or later or whenever. But I'm really intrigued and interested and engaged with the BitShares world now, because we see a very definite use case for BitShares within our environment that is probably actually going to be fundamental.
That was the question I was going to ask you. But actually was how you came to BitShares, because you pretty much, man, I can tell that you've been diving in and you've actually been doing a lot of research. You don't just look at, advertisements and say this is what this is. You look into the tech, right? And you found your way to us and our little community and the graphene ecosystem, aka delegated proof of stake at this point in time anyway. And I'm kind of interested to see exactly was where you're going, like what brought you here, how you got to BitShares, and what you thought that offered you opposed to the other things that are available in crypto, the hundreds of other coins out there, stuff like that.
Right. Well, it's really interesting. Actually, my first encounter with BitShares was quite a while ago when I was investigating how I would want to set up the blockchain itself. Like, I was thinking, okay, if this is going to work, there's going to be some key features to the blockchain itself that are going to need to be evident. One of the biggest ones was speed, because there's nothing that I can predict more than the fact that this very environment and how it's set up is going to be very viral. Everybody who brings in one person, like if you bring in one person and you want to actually make the best use of this environment, you're going to want to have several other individuals that you work with on the regular be involved with it as well. So there's going to be this huge scaling. It's going to be one of these things where I really believe that it's we'll ramp up really quickly to a few thousand users, and we'll sit there for a little while, then we'll wake up one day and have 5 million. So the scalability of the environment is paramount in order for its success to be anything near where it needs to be. And having the numbers game was tough. So I was looking into, high speed, high transactional rate blockchain environments, because it was going to need that. And that's how I first came upon BitShares. I was reading up on your delegated proof of stake. The consensus model was wonderful, and I loved it. And so I was always had you guys on my radar as far as, if nothing else, just a great example of how to create a high-speed transactional system using a proof-of-stake environment that's going to be solid and really provide the kind of backbone we needed for our environment. So that's where we started at. That was months and months ago, though. And so then there was this, period where we were going in different directions with how the technology was going to work and how we were going to establish our platform. And one of the last pieces we came on was, how are we going to establish the coins? How are we going to establish the actual in-house currency that is going to be used not only for the delegated proof of stake environment that is going to be on, but also the interior environment itself? How would users actually be able to, purchase, the content? Because we're going to have a marketplace that would sell products that are, created by these various projects. And so like a book or, a game or app or movie or music or whatever, it would be sold through the Embermine marketplace as well. And one of the concerns is that we would have to have a separation between the proof of stake coin that existed and the actual in-house coin people were using. So we didn't want to have a coin that would be, constantly a different price point like Bitcoin or what have you, making it very, very difficult to have even value or, like an equal value across all of the different marketplaces and all the different zones and regions that people would be working in. Yeah. So exactly, separation between church and state. That's actually awesome.
Well stated.
That's well stated.
Solid.
Yep. And so what we're going to be looking at here is we're looking at actually creating this volume mechanism as well as a proof of stake mechanism. Okay. And the question ultimately is this, how can we do this and provide an easy way for people to have a unified in-house coin, and then on the back end still have a proof of stake coin that was not sullied by the fluctuations. Both of them weren't sullied by the fluctuations of the other, so to say. And we decided that we were going to have two coins. We're going to have the Embermine token, and that's the one that's the proof of stake environment, and it also provides some other features. And then we're going to have the in-house Embers. And these are essentially like dollars, if you will. That would be what people would actually use, not only to purchase smart contracts and to purchase various goods in the marketplace, but that's a unit of value that would be circulating through the smart contracts whenever something was purchased or whenever funds need to be moved from one place to another. That would be the token of value. Then, of course, you're running into the situation, if you're talking mass market, people obviously are going to need to be able to use this coin or be able to have access to these funds to pay for rent and groceries and car payments and stuff like that. And the ultimate question is, how do you do that in an easy way without, making it too difficult for, Joe the plumber to be able to get access to his money? That's what brought me back to BitShares. Originally, I had somebody mention to me that what I should do is I should create essentially a relationship with Tether to create a peg to our Ember coin and make it so where Tether essentially allows people to cash in and out. So, for example, somebody has 10 Embers. They need to, go buy lunch or something like that. They would switch to Tether, because they would be pegged. Embers would be pegged to Tether, and they would switch out to Tether, switch out to to fiat from there if they want, or if they have a place that they can spend that coin or whatever. It just got me to the idea that if there's a gateway, if there's a way where people can essentially transform their Embers into whatever currency that they want. It wouldn't even have to be fiat. It could be Bitcoin. It could be Ethereum. It could be Steam. It could be whatever that they want. I want to have a way where people could do that easily, so that the coin would have functionality, but yet would remain within the environment itself. I felt that was an important value in that. Is that they could take essentially the Embers outside the market, but how would you establish what the value was of it? And how would you ensure that that value was consistent and within a certain tolerance all the time. And that's how I kind of ran into the BitShares environment, ran into Fuzzy, and he started telling me some things and started talking to, sent some messages out to some of the developers out there. And between Garrison and myself did a deep dive into your guys' tech and realized this is our solution. That we could find a way where we could connect BitShares to us, to the Embers. Not only would we be able to provide a easy way to be able to essentially transform the Embers into usable coins into any marketplace people want to go into, whether it be fiat or otherwise, but also be able to make it so where you guys have a mass market facing product that introduces people not only to your product, but brings people into the crypto environment from the mass market world as well.
Well, man, this is the one problem with having 20-minute segments is that I have so many questions myself, and I want other people to be able to ask questions. I think using something like this would help us probably pay more people so we could have many longer segments. But with that said, does anybody have any questions or comments? So before I step in.
Sure, pile of them. What kind of open sourcing are you doing? I'm also skeptical of cryptos being launched by traditional US-based corporations. Have you looked at other business forms like Holacracy or Sociocracy, or what PeerPlays is doing with a nonprofit in Canada? Just diving into going to be a US-based corporation makes me worry about some of the things that Steemit has done in that regard. Let's see, one other question. I guess that's enough for now. Open source and US-based corporation.
Okay, well, as far as open source is concerned, Embermine is 100% dedicated to full transparency and open source technology throughout its entire stack. In fact, that was one of the major elements of why we were really interested in BitShares and their open source technology that they have. Is it seems to be dedicated to that purpose. Anybody that we're talking to as far as partners, whether it be for our back-end or front-end technologies, all of them are dedicated to open source. All of them are dedicated to really engaging the open source community, not only to ensuring that the product itself is, working at absolutely the best way it possibly can, but also creating opportunities for individuals to create add-on products that would help extend the capabilities of the users within the environment. We really feel like that's an important aspect of what we are creating for the industry, for the mass market appeal. As far as the U.S. corporation thing is concerned, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really know for sure where, what particular issues or problems would exist with a U.S. corporation, aside from, compliance and regulatory authority, which is obviously in some cases a nightmare. But when, we're talking about capabilities or lack thereof, or for that matter, areas of risk that could potentially be with any particular fundamental organizational structure that is managing this, we're mitigating some of that because of our dedication to decentralization. Now that might sound weird coming from a corporate entity that's talking to about creating this platform. Is how do we do that? Part of it is how we are actually issuing our coins. Our initial coin offering, which is coming out in April 13th, will be selling the Embermine tokens for the proof of stake environment. Now, one of these tokens has to be used in order to create a user identity inside of the Embermine environment. In fact, that token will not only be destroyed and a new one will be minted in its place that's encrypted to that particular user identity. That connects you to the environment for life and ensures that you and only you are the person that has access to that particular user identity. Over time, we're going to only issue 100 million tokens. Over time, we will be selling those tokens to more users to add more users to the environment so that we can have a little bit of control at the beginning of being able to manage and direct environment in the proof of stake area without having to necessarily go proof of work, which a lot of other companies have done early in their development. But as we grow and as we develop, we're going to be, in order to grow the platform, we're going to have to give up our stake in order to give users the accessibility to the environment. Eventually, obviously, at some point, we would all hope that 100 million is not enough of those tokens to go around, and we would have to make plans for maybe having a secondary release at some point down the road. But that would all be done as a voting structure that exists within the Embermine environment. Each one of those tokens counts as one vote, not only with the proof of stake environment, but the master project compact that would be generated for the Embermine project. So every one of those stakeholders, every user in the environment is actually a stakeholder in the project itself, all the way from the beginning. And a portion of the shares and the income that come from it will be diverted back to those users.
That's a cool mechanism. So the more tokens you put in, the more, or quote unquote, maybe burn, would that be a good way of saying it?
Yes.
Yes. The more votes you get on a certain thing.
That's correct, and the more accessibility that we provide to our unit. But the thing is that obviously we could hold on to in the initial distribution, we only still have 6% as a corporation. And that even that is going to be diversified amongst the individual players within our organization. So Embermine, in the way that Embermine will allow projects and organizations to develop within it, is actually being used to create Embermine itself. The very collaborative features that we're involving, enabling individuals to be able to use themselves. They're going to be able to, that's how we're building our product. That's how we're building our corporation. That's how we're building all of the individuals that operate within it. Also, some of this is some of my old school kind of showing through. It's kind of funny to say old school when something has only been around for 10 years, but you put a corporation behind it so that there's some legal teeth to the efforts. There's some accountability to what you do, both from a financial perspective as well as from a business perspective in how you treat your customers. I've always looked at this as any organization, whether it's a nonprofit, a corporation, what have you, or even just two people shaking hands. There's always an element of risk that somebody's not going to do the right thing. And the question always comes down to, what is your intent? What is your goal? So we created what we call the Embermine Manifesto. We published it out there a couple of weeks ago. It's our essentially us ringing the bells, saying to the world, this is the credo that we're going to live by. This is what's going to gauge our decisions. Now, it's very easy for people to say words or write down words and even publish them out to the world and tell everybody what it is. Doesn't necessarily mean that's how they're going to carry through. But when you do something like that, it instantly becomes apparent when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. The red flags become much more apparent. And our goal here is to make sure that, none of us are perfect. None of us have ever done everything 100% in line with what we have ever desired to do. And so intentions aren't always perfect either. But the idea is, with the smart contracts, with the blockchain, the problems become much more apparent and easier to nip in the bud before they become really big issues. And there's still risk. There's still, an opportunity for people to make mistakes. The idea is being able to see them quickly, be able to address them appropriately, and do so with the transparency of knowing that, hey, there's a problem here. Okay, let's fix it.
Yeah, that's kind of actually why I enjoyed talking, with you as much as I did, was because your philosophy seems very similar, where the transparency itself as you're working on projects is something that can form a foundation of trust. And I always say this is the wild, wild west. because, like you said, in cryptocurrency, a lot of people just take a bunch of money and then disappear. And it's largely because it's the wild, wild west, and they can get away with it on a horse out into the canyons, and you can't find them. Generally speaking, there's not, they're so far away geographically that you can't even out of jurisdictions. And the question is, do we always want to bring law and all that stuff? But regardless, we need structures like this, and we need to utilize the blockchain for things like this. And we've been talking about various projects that have had similar ideas in the past. They just, I don't think, have even gotten to the point where they want to do ICOs or anything. So you guys are, probably one of the first ones in the game that's thinking about doing it this way. There's a couple other ones, but you're up there. The first one.
Yeah, it's interesting because in our research, at first we weren't coming up with really many companies that were doing anything like this. I'm like, this seems like an obvious use case for especially for the
theory. Tell me about it.
What's that?
It is once you've told me about it. It wasn't so much to the degree that it was that you've made it with this project in the white paper.
Right, and it always seemed like that everything kind of ended at the same point for every company we looked into, or not so much ended, but kind of there's a couple of them out there that they ramp up really quickly, and there's a lot of interest, and it just seems like it just kind of dies. It just nothing ever happened. And I always think it's because they encountered the same problem that, I encountered several months ago. And that was, how do you get this so that people will use it in the real world? Like, how do you link it to the real world? And that's where having the accessible cryptocurrency practice is so important, because the smart contracts are great, but how do you get adoption? Because nothing like this will work without having adoption by mass numbers of individuals. And that's where we're really thinking of, how do we make it so where that this is, this can become part of people's lives.
Real quick now, before we move on, because we're going to have to move on, but how do people reach out to you? And just for me, is this going to be on BitShares, or is this planned to be a separate chain?
Well, we're going to be our own separate chain, but what we would be doing is, and I'm still investigating into the actual technical details that would require this, but my belief is that we would create, we would either we're creating our own blockchain environment that we'll be using, but we would be using some of the elements from your I think it's a gateway technology to be able to connect the two together. As far as getting hold of me, it's just the best thing to do is you can go to embermine.com. That's our website. We also have both a Telegram and a Slack channel, public channel that people can communicate with us on. Email is james@embermine.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have any direct questions. I'm always willing to sit down and chat with people, whether it be on Skype or what have you. James@embermine.com is my Skype address. So if you can just you can find me out there, connect up with me, shoot me a question, and we can go from there.
Well, thank you very much, man.
La 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 la.